gospel on this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Purelite Ventures' first webinar, and this is Fertility in Venture. And so we are very excited to bring to you our wonderful panelists, Thiv and Christy. And also we have Callie, who is going to be moderating this webinar for us. She's a venture fellow at Purelite. So to start off, I would just like to tell you a little bit about the space. So currently in the United States, we have seen that fertility has dropped to its lowest rate in a century. The fertility rate in 2023 was 56 births per childbearing aged woman. And this is from the CDC. And it's a 3% drop from 2022. And just to give you guys an idea of how serious it is right now, CNN featured this in an article on August 20th, 2024. So just a few days ago. Now, the interesting thing is that with reproductive health, it's usually back of mind until a person starts to grapple with infertility. And so statistically, what they found is that 10% of women approximately and 10% of men struggle with infertility. And the breakdown of these numbers actually leads to this. 30% female in a couple are seen to have infertility issues, 30% male, and then 30% a combination of both partners. The other 10% is due to unknown causes. The best thing about this is that 90% of fertility issues can be overcome through medical interventions. We have seen lots of breakthroughs in fertility. For instance, IVF success rates have skyrocketed from 5% to over 45%. And also, when used with pre-implantation genetic testing, which is the gold standard, it's extremely successful. There are over 8 million babies up to date that have been born using IVF. But to put this into perspective, it has been found by the World Health Organization that only 3% of infertility cases actually need IVF. So 97% of those actually can be handled with medical interventions or preconception interventions. And that is where Davinci Wearables and Hera Fertility become extremely important because they are very relevant use cases when it comes to overall male and female fertility and infant health and wellness. And we also have to keep in mind that this is a large number of potential customers. There are about 120 million people of childbearing age in the United States currently. Now, to shift gears just a little bit, I want to talk to you about how there's been a 700% increase in venture funding in the fertility space from 2018 to 2023. And this is according to PitchBook's research for Reuters. Currently, there are VC firms like Purelite, like Khosla, BBG, that are placing their hats in the ring to fund fertility, maternal, paternal, and infant health. So that being said, just to talk about some raises, like there are certain companies in the space that have currently raised about $40 million for their seed A. So this is something that is happening. And as people interested in this space, it's always great to get in early and to understand the whole ecosystem so that we can be smart investors. That being said, I would like to introduce to you our esteemed, wonderful panelists. Dr. Christy Fernandez-Cull is the CEO of Davinci Wearables. She has an impressive trajectory in technology, particularly within autonomous systems, and her previous roles include spearheading the sensing and perception systems at Waymo, guiding sensor development at Lyft, self-driving division, and contributing to significant advancement at Apple, including the pioneering of the light detection and ranging modules. So this is very interesting. And she also has expertise spanning defense technologies at MIT Lincoln Laboratory for consumer products at Apple. And she's an advisor for numerous VCs and startups in mobility, autonomous vehicles, and digital health. Dr. Fernandez-Cull serves on the board of Omnitron. She contributes as a venture partner at Latitude Ventures and holds a position on a nonprofit board. Her academic credentials include an MS and PhD in engineering from Duke, alongside an MBA from MIT. She's passionate about mentoring STEM and STEAM, and she currently lectures and shares her expertise in AI at MIT and at my alma mater, Columbia University. The next person I would like to introduce you to is Thiv Paramsothy. He is a wonderful co-founder and CEO of Hera Fertility. At Hera Fertility, excuse me, he helps men with infertility by letting them treat it comfortably at home instead of awkwardly at a clinic. Hera's app can improve fertility in almost half the time and save more than 22 months by doing it at home. Thiv is an experienced entrepreneur. He has 10 years under his belt inhabiting the digital health and startup space. Thiv was the vice president of growth and the co-founder at AdriCare, a telehealth practice management platform that was acquired by Well Health. He has a BSc from Waterloo University and is passionate about digital health and access to care. Please welcome them. And so to start off, I would like to ask a couple of questions to our panelists, and I'm going to start with Dr. Fernandez-Cull. And that question will be, exactly what is your origin story? Tell us why you became interested in the fertility space.
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me. Humbled to be among all of you. To answer your question, why the fertility space? Really, at the core, my interests stem from the root cause of a lot of different outcomes, which is menstrual health and hormonal health, in particular, focusing on female physiology. And my passion really is personal, outside of just being a dreamer and loving to solve problems. I've had a couple of inflections along my women's health journey, which is still evolving. The first, while being a student athlete in high school, really focusing on performance health, we weren't really focused on female physiology. It was a mindset of no pain, no gain. So even if you were going through one of four of your cycles, the menstrual cycle, menstruation phase, you pushed beyond the pain. And so my first inflection into women's health was really, how do I work with my body? How do I understand my body, even if and when my coaches and folks around me aren't necessarily helping me to understand? And of course, culturally and ethnically, these were just topics that you didn't talk about. The focus in education really has always been, how not to conceive too early, and that's your foundation. My second inflection, more specifically into fertility, was I had suffered a miscarriage. I didn't know I was pregnant, and folks kind of, you can kind of Google the symptoms, but no one really tells you about the journey after as well, not only socially, physically, but also mentally. And so this need to understand more about physiology, the evolution during different life cycles, stages as a female, really became a passion of mine, which is why, decided to really leverage my background, not only in performance health, being an athlete, but also expertise in engineering and science, and building consumer products to say, how can we really flip the switch, not only socially from a communication standpoint, education standpoint, but from a sensing and actionable and personalized insight standpoint. Yes.
Well, that's wonderful to know that you took some of the things that happened in your own life and you applied it to help not only yourself, but other people, because what you shared is very personal and very difficult and very vulnerable. So thank you for sharing that. But you are a success story because you definitely, now you have a son. So that is an amazing,
yes.
Turnaround from what happened initially. And I'd also love to hear from you, Thiv, what brought you into the fertility space?
Well, Give me one sec. Sometimes my camera starts acting up. But thanks for having me on this. I'm super excited to be chatting. For me, it all started a couple of years ago when I kept hearing the friends and family around me that they were struggling with infertility. And when I started to dig into it, I realized that it was mostly the guys that were the problem or were contributing to infertility, and that surprised me. I think I was like similar to a lot of other people, didn't realize that the true stats around infertility and what's going on, particularly like 50% of the time, men are contributing to infertility. And that really scared me, made me want to go and get tested and learn more, and realize that, there isn't really good solutions out there and tools for men. And what ends up happening is they feel isolated and not wanting to tackle it until the very end. And then on top of that, when you talk to the women are part of on this journey, a lot of it is put on them, and sometimes getting overtreated. And so that's when I started to realize that there was a huge problem here. And I paired up with my co-founder who was running an IVF clinic, and we combined it and looked at what solutions can we bring about. And what we realized is that to really tackle this, we need to bring something that will allow men to get tested sooner, faster, and feel more proactive about this. So that's when we developed our at-home solution, where at the test kit side, we're able to make it super easy for them to learn about their fertility. But I think what's really the difference maker is spell out exactly how they can improve it, because there are solutions for men that aren't talked about a lot or even offered, and we want to be that solution for them.
Wonderful. Thiv, let's continue with you. Can you talk a little bit about your MVP and how it is used?
Yeah, so the way that we've approached it is we wanted to be part of the health system and not be a simple point solution that you see on Facebook or Google Ads. So we partner with OBGYNs, urologists, family doctors, and have them recommend our solution. And because 50% of the time women are going, or these couples are going to their doctors when they haven't had success on their trying to conceive journey. So partnering with them has been really a game changer, where they offer our solution, our kit, and make it super easy and a no-brainer, honestly, because the alternative is for people to go into the fertility clinic and go into that dreaded collection room that we all, I think, imagine right off the bat, and don't want to be there, and especially guys don't want to be around. It's usually them, and everyone knows why they're there. So this is an easy solution for them that they can use and get results pretty quickly and know exactly what's going on with their fertility. And then from there, in this MVP, we learned so much about the patients, what types of patients there are, how to make sure that they're engaged, how to explain the results, because this is such a new thing, and how to make sure that we're supporting them on this journey, especially when they get bad results. And so we're really holding their hand. So in our app, we have a support capability. We explain the full results. We get them the medications, supplements, whatever they need. We're really a one-stop shop for them so that they can tackle their fertility and hopefully have a family and become a dad.
That's fantastic. You had mentioned that using your MVP, you're able to speed up the fertility process for men, often by almost 2 years. So can you speak more about how that happens? I mean, because it seems to me that once they understand what you are offering and they know that they can do it privately, they can actually fix the problem and nobody will even know that they had a problem the way that your solution works. So
Yeah.
can you talk me through a little bit about why your solution is so much faster?
Yeah, and it's, I want to make sure it's clear that the tech is great, and the product, the app, everything that we've done is I feel like we really put our heart and soul in it. But at the core of it, we made sure that we understood how the patient experience is right now, and how can we tackle it in a better way so that patients are knowing about this issue sooner. Because, and this all came out of, those friends of mine who told me, I just wish I knew earlier that I should have gotten tested, or why, and how actually it's not that bad. And so that's when we realized we need to go upstream and talk to more family doctors and these OBs who are the couple's, the woman's family doc, and focus on them and support them because they're at the start of the journey. And that really unlocked a lot. And then on top of that, making it super easy and private, made sure that even if they, like for men, we found that even if they understood the reason why, this really made sure that they were able to complete it sooner, and get those results faster. So I think the way that we addressed it, and that's mainly from talking to as many patients. We are always open to chatting with them and trying to support people as much as possible. And so that really unlocked it and allowed us to get those good results. And that really is so important for us, because we believe we want to be the solution where it's proactive, where, when you make that decision to have a kid, which now more and more people are planning ahead, it's about 60-70%. The first thing they need to do as a guy is to go and buy this kit and get tested. And I think that proactiveness is really going to be a game changer.
Wonderful. I'd actually like to ask Christy the same question. So the question is, can you talk a little bit more about your MVP and how that is actually something that is helping move this forward, moving fertility forward? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I love the yes. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you. Okay, perfect. I heard you the entire time. So stop me if you can't hear me.
Yes.
I'm going to riff off of what Thiv highlighted so clearly, if I may, which is the focus on proactivity. So at Davinci, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you. At Davinci, we're really focused on understanding the female from a longitudinal, right, which is ahead of making a decision, whether it's to understand phase 1 or phase 4 of your menstrual cycle for the outcome of, I want to successfully have a baby. We've designed an AI-powered analytics engine. We provide insights via a mobile application into the bodily changes during those crucial life phases. So for the purpose of having, successfully having a baby and becoming a mom, we're focused on how do we get those hormonal actionable insights based on sensors that are actually embedded into your activewear. So you have this persistent monitoring. So when you go to your OB, right, you can effectively say, here's the data that I have from my wearables data, from my hormonal health data, from data really lining, right, your body on a daily basis. And so the problem head on in chatting, we chatted with over 1,000 females across a variety of ages from 18 to about 60. And what was truly lacking was there was confusion if and when you wanted to make the decision of, I want to have a little bundle of joy. Why am I not able to conceive when I'm tracking, right, my ovulation and trying to plan for that romantic evening? And so Davinci really has become the software application that is collecting, processing, and producing and becoming, being that proactive anchor to address your female-only physiological needs. So, some examples we point to across, daily, weekly, and monthly is, you want to work out when you feel strong, not when you're weak from menstruating, as an example. Plan, like I said, that romantic evening. when you know you're ready to conceive, and choose the right foods that counteract that menstrual-induced fatigue. So we're learning about your body. You're taking a body scan. You're tracking your food intake. You're also tracking your hydration. And you're also educating and informing yourself from the standpoint of, we do have advisors that are weighing in on the questions. They don't know your name because we believe in data privacy and data security, but they know that you're asking a question, whether it's health-related, wellness-related, conception-related, and we want to be that leaning hand to provide that guidance.
One of the things I like about your background, working at MIT, working at Apple, you're able to take the wearable aspect of your MVP and make it come alive in terms of protecting and guiding fertility in women. So I think that's an amazing thing. Another question that I have for you, Dr. Fernandez-Cull, is when is the right time for people to start actually thinking about their fertility? Like, when is the right time for somebody to start using Davinci Wearables? And of course, I will be asking Thiv the same question too.
You know, in the spirit of proactivity, you know, our goal is to really be your real-time, persistent monitoring solution for your health and wellness, for better health outcomes. Understanding and assessing the irregularity of your menstrual cycle, your body mass index as you're, again, going through your life stages. Really, there's no time like the present. If you're waiting for the moment where you say, I'm ready for, to have a baby, you may not be timing all the different details that you need to be assessing about your bodily functions, your hormonal balance. You might be on certain contraceptives. You may not have the guidance as to what is the time that you need to be off some of the contraceptives that you're on in order to have a higher efficacy rate, which, if you're thinking, I want to conceive now, and it could be a frustrating experience when, at the end of your cycle, you have, you don't have that positive pregnancy test that's saying you're going to have a bundle of joy in about 9 months. And so for us, because we're part of the full life cycle of your journey, we would anticipate us being the golden standard solution to, use it immediately, right? Post-puberty, effectively. Again, not for the goal of conception, but rather for the goal of that longitudinal over time assessment of how is my body functioning from a female physiology standpoint, up until, when you want to achieve those milestones, one of them being, a bundle of joy at the end of 9 months.
Wonderful. And I would like to encourage everybody who's on the stream to put your questions in the chat towards the end, like the last 15 minutes. It will be open for your questions. So please feel free. And Thiv, back to you, just to ask, when do you see Hera Fertility being a good option to start using in terms of timing in the life cycle of a person?
Yeah, it's something that I think about all the time right now. I joke around with my co-founder. I'm like, we need to get it so that it's on wedding registries. Everyone needs to buy it right before they get married, or just, even before that.
Like,
I think
as a present?
Yeah, as a present. I know I have a couple weddings. Maybe that might be a good gift to give them. And I think the reason why I'm saying this is because I've seen how many patients you go through and fertility and go in that reactive mode, where it's been a couple of years of them trying, and it's like after the woman's been tested so many times, it's the guy gets tested and realize that that's where the root of the problem is. And it's such a simple test compared to the others that women have to go through, that it becomes such a no-brainer and very much something that can exclude a lot of things. And there's so much we can do to improve it. It just becomes obvious that we need to move it to that proactive perspective now, instead of this reactive mode where after a couple of years is when someone gets guy gets tested. So yeah, if before getting married, I've heard of stories where guys are even before after school and making sure they're being very proactive. That some people are doing that, and I think it really helps because you understand what's going on, and then now there's more and more evidence coming out where fertility and sperm health actually is a window into overall health for a guy. So I think there's huge potential there. And I really believe everyone should be getting it done as soon as possible, at least when they've decided they want to have a child, and consistently doing it so that they could get the information they need and be very ahead of the curve on what could happen. And especially now with so many new solutions out there to help.
That's fantastic. And I just want to mention about the company, the Founders Press. They've actually ranked you as number 8 out of the top health tech companies to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's super exciting for Hera Health. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. We'll get up to first in next year.
Yes. Yes. So the next question that I'd like to ask, or it's actually something that I discussed with Dr. Fernandez-Cull at one point, and it was about democratizing fertility. Because right now, people are turning to IVF when they have issues with fertility. And as we've seen by the statistics that the World Health Organization has provided, that only about 3% absolutely need IVF. 97% of the people who are having issues can have alternative routes to get to a point. So I'd love to hear both of your takes on that.
Yeah, I can chime in and start if you like. When you think about the democratization of health and wellness solutions, especially in the fertility space, first or second time of IVF treatments, so the efficacy is pretty low, and the price to arrive at success for some is upwards of a couple $100,000. And so when you think about from a socioeconomic standpoint, who has that liquidity? Few and far between, right? In terms of the tail of the socioeconomic spectrum. And so, our thought process behind democratizing those health and wellness insights, I mean, quite frankly, when you think about longevity, a lot of folks focusing on anti-aging technology, enhanced spas, these are all already very pricey solutions, a couple thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to get that full body MRI or other sorts of assessments. So what we've leaned into at Davinci to try to democratize those insights is really the focus on the health and wellness journey, right, of the full life cycle of the female in her journey across her critical decisional inflections, right, which is, what is my body telling me hormonally, physically, mentally, from a secretion analysis, right, embedded in garments. And so, how can we reduce the cost of these sensors that get embedded into your everyday wear as that gateway into those actionable insights? I want to conceive. How do I plan that romantic evening? Is it the right time? What are my hormones telling me versus how I feel in my mind and my body? Where is that data? And furthermore, how do I take that data and digest it, make it understandable to me from a mobile app infrastructure? So our view is, how do we cost reduce to get access to that data to the everyday person? Because to your point, those insights are not democratized, especially to achieve that efficacy, right? That success story that you're looking for, or that a mom, a dad, a person is looking for.
And Thiv, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, no, and we think about this a lot because especially my co-founder ran a fertility clinic for so many years. I think IVF is such a great technology and has done wonders in the short amount of time that it's launched and now growing. It's an important piece of the puzzle, but I think the way that we're thinking about it, and similar to Christy, is like, how do we enable and empower these patients, these people who are going through a journey of their own of trying to conceive, and how do we make it so that they're informed about what's going on in their body, what is the best way forward? And I think that's really the unlock that we're focused on. I think that there's going to be a few that need to go through something like IVF or any of these other advanced assisted reproductive treatments and technologies. The hope, though, and the goal here is that can we empower them so that they feel like they can make the right decision? If you, one of the things I noticed when we interviewed hundreds of people on their journey was that a lot of them would come in with binders of information, like from all the visits that they went to, things that they researched, and just would be a wealth of knowledge. And that was after years of going through it. And I think that's at the essence what we're trying to get at is, can we give them information about themselves, and make sure that they're aware of what's going on, and make it super easy. And hopefully they don't have to go down to something as invasive and expensive as IVF, and instead can naturally conceive. So that's how we're thinking about it.
Fantastic. I'd also like to ask you, why is this a good time for a conversation about venture capital? And why is venture capital backing one of your preferred funding options? And Thiv, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because I think as every good founder thinks about venture capital, needs to think about it in the right way. And it's not, I think these days a lot of times we see the press, another startup getting hundreds of millions of dollars and all that. Venture capital is a tool to help a business grow, and you have to use that tool appropriately. And I think right now, what we've seen in the last year or so is that digital health hasn't performed as well. The companies that have gotten VC money, some of them haven't performed as well now recently, especially after the spike in COVID. And there's real questions where people are saying, hey, should healthcare even, any digital health company, should they even get VC money? And it doesn't make sense. Does the economics make sense? And I think we're thinking about it the wrong way. For us, we see that there's a huge white space where people are needing a solution like this, and we're ahead of the curve, and we want to bring a solution that we know works because of the research that's been done over the decades. And venture capital will enable us to get it so that more and more people can get it. As you said earlier in the beginning, millions of people go through infertility. And this is a solution that we need to get it to as many people as possible, right? And to do that immediately, as soon as possible, in the right way, venture capital could be a great tool for that. And so that's how we're thinking about it. But I think it's important now to really reflect and think how to use it properly, how to work with venture, because at the end of the day, they're investing so that the company can grow and they can make a return. So I hope that makes sense, but it's something that I think every founder should really think about, how to use VC in the right way.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I think that also, when thinking about getting venture capital into a startup, it's really important to look at the time frame in which you are working to achieve your goal, and what that means for your company, and also the people you're trying to help, and also the LPs that are involved. So in venture capital, there are a few balls that are in the air, but all of them are synergistic and helping to move the needle towards the success of the company or the startup. And Dr. Fernandez-Cull, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, venture capital funding, huge gateway to create, a leap of change, right? So you have debt financing, you have equity-based financing in venture capital, and why now? We're really at an amazing convergence of executive orders focusing on women's health, and do think it's a two-body. So really excited to have to be in quorum with where you talk about women's health as it relates to reproductive health. Also, as soon as you conceive, how to maintain that health. And from a democratizing of insights, it's equally important to be healthy when you're trying to conceive, during conception, when you're, up until when you are full term, and after, right? We don't talk about that full life cycle, which inevitably needs those health and wellness and actionable insights. And so why, VC is prime for investment in women's health and each of the different attributes I mentioned is, McKinsey's report highlighted women's health as a $1 trillion market, which encompasses that reproductive health, infant health, life journey of the mom. And so, we're a huge fan of venture capital investment, and really think the time is now, in particular, right for, fertility, reproductive health, and women's health at large.
Nana, I was gonna ask. Maybe I'm curious to get your take on that question. Sitting on the other end, because I think Christy and I, as founders, I think we know how VC can help us and how we can work together. But I'm curious on your perspective. How do you think about investing in digital health companies, especially those in fertility?
I love the question. So there are a lot of things that I look at when I am investing in a company, a digital health company. Now, the first thing that I'm looking at the actual way that it is going to enhance the patient's life and the family's life in their journey, right? I'm also looking at healthcare practitioners. How does this solution make it easier for a healthcare practitioner to do their job, right? And how can it be used in tandem with it? Another thing that I look at with digital health is like the resources that it provides the person using it. So as you mentioned, Thiv, like you have some, not medications, but you have vitamins, you have meal plans. Christy, you have ways to monitor how a person is feeling, where they are in their cycle, and what kind of exercises they should be doing in order to maintain health. So I look at those kinds of parameters, and I look and see if that is actually something that the client needs and the client wants. And I also look and see if it's sticky for them. For instance, like, are they going to stay on this digital platform for as long as it takes for them to have the result that they're looking for? Because, there are so many apps out there, so many digital platforms. So we are always looking for something that's sticky. Is it gamified in any kind of way? Is there an opportunity for reaching out across platforms that can also allow for different metrics to be included with your actual platform too? It's another thing that I look at as well. Of course, as a venture capitalist, my LPs are very important to me. They make it possible for us to be able to invest and to move your companies forward. So I always actually do look at the ability to capture market value. So yes, we have a $4 trillion TAM, right? A total addressable market that we're looking at, right? And Christy, Dr. Fernandez-Cull, you mentioned that earlier. Yes, that is true. But what is your serviceable, obtainable market there, right? How much of that are you going to be able to pull in? And also, how are you going to do that? Like, it's one thing to tell me you're going to do it, but it's another thing to show me that you're doing it and show me how you're doing it. Because a product that the best product that nobody knows about or nobody uses doesn't influence anything. So, I mean, those are a few things. I could go on and on because I love this stuff. However, I think that's enough to chew on for now. And then I'd actually like to ask you about some unexpected holes in the fertility space that have caught your eye. So we've already discussed some of the things that we have statistics on from the World Health Organization or from the CDC. or, even from Reuters or PitchBook. But, just talking about things that you see that you didn't expect. And I'd actually like to start with you, Dr. Fernandez-Cull.
Yeah, some things that in chatting with a lot of the girls that have offered to kind of test out some of the features that we have. One thing that I haven't heard spoken as much about is folks will talk about, how do you perform with your body in a high performance situation? So an elite athlete, right? How do you make sure you can achieve that sprint with a certain amount of time without having to pull up and out because of menstrual cramps? That's equally important to be clear. But one thing that has arisen is the rise of characterization of PCOS and endometriosis,
Yeah.
and the impact of chronic conditions on the menstrual cycle, that being related to irregularity, no longer menstruating, which is a critical component for conception as well. And some of the diagnostic and prognostic when a female goes to chat with her OBGYN, suggestive of your symptoms could lead to infertility. Only then to be told after blood work that, oh, and by the way, this was inaccurate. We're really confused about your symptoms. Please continue to come back. So the ability to purposefully be able to provide feedback and insight to girls, in their 20s, upwards of mid 30s, it's sort of shocking to hear a diagnostic or prognostic, and then it be reverted the next time you visit. So, some statistics, so about 50%, this is across gender, have one chronic condition, and about 25% have two or more. So when we think about the impact of chronic conditions on the menstrual cycle, which inevitably impact or have a ripple effect on fertility and fertility, right? Really the time is now to be able to provide those insights. So that was shocking to me. This wasn't one account, this wasn't two accounts. This was over 10 to 20 accounts, again, of girls pushing their body to limits, rightfully so. That is part of their life journey and milestones. But, being told at whichever age, right, all equally important, that you have a certain percentage of not being able to conceive, has a physical, social, and mental impact. So that was one of the things that was shocking for me to kind of learn about, and only further inspires, right, us at Davinci to try to make a difference, however small or large, to provide those insights about data, right? Provide data and empower girls to understand their bodies more.
That's fantastic. And I'd love to hear a little bit about what Thiv, you are thinking in terms of that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm like, there's so many things that I've learned on this journey. And I think the big one that I always, I asked my co-founder about, I'm like, unexplained infertility, that is an actual diagnosis. Because, and I don't know if people know about this, but some people who are going through this journey and struggling, they may hear the doctor might say, hey, you have unexplained infertility, where basically they've done a bunch of tests and they can't find out what it is. And that was, I think, for me, an eye-opener of what really is happening in the system. And that's because that's accepted. And then they go through treatments that they think will work. But the fact that we can't pinpoint what is causing, I think, is a symptom of, one, that this fertility system is fairly new. And two, I think there needs to be more research out there to help us understand what is really going on. And I think more and more is happening. And then lastly, I think and what we're we're part of that puzzle is bringing new solutions to light. I think that really helps, where we can bring new types of testing solutions. Even like Christy's saying, like her innovation and her products will really open up and show more data and maybe pinpoint what is really causing some of these issues. So that's kind of one thing that it really surprised me. I think every other month go, like, April, what really is unexplained use like this? And I hope in 5 years, that isn't the case, and people know exactly what's going on with their body and why they're not getting pregnant, and be very objective about it and be able to know exactly what they need to do.
Wonderful. So we actually have a question from Joe Cody, and I can actually show the question. And he says, one thing I'm interested in learning about is how your point solutions work with clinicians and other components of the fertility space, since so much of the journey is disjointed, making patients navigate it all by themselves.
Mm-hmm. I can start here. And I think this is an important point. And I know Joe's doing some amazing work there at Grain to really help this problem, which is now there's all these different solutions out there. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West in a way, especially in a new industry like fertility. How do we make it so that it's not overwhelming for patients, and also clinicians, so that it's a clear journey and they know what's going to have, how to go about it? And I think it's going to be solutions like Grain, like what he's working on, and also clinicians understanding the different point solutions out there and making that decision. And that's kind of why we work through the health system and work through an OBGYN. Docs have that innate ability to figure out, understand the different options out there and really provide a good recommendation. So that's how we're thinking about it. And I think there's going to be more and more of these different platforms that will bring these solutions together and make it super easy for people to know what's out there and what makes sense for them. Yeah, that's how I think. Well, how I think about it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I could add a little bit to that. For one of our market segments and partners are health organizations. And so our platform is meant to be available with your FSA, your flexible spending account, as a product, or your health savings account. It could be part of your corporate health wellness. But we do put the impetus on the individual when they create their passport, let's say, not the one to travel, but the Davinci passport, which has your health and wellness data. We make it prudent of the individual to share that, so that they know how their data is being transferred from party to party, and they reserve the right to also remove that access from the health organization that they may have originally wanted to share that. So we uphold that data privacy, data security, and so the individual has that authority, not us and not the health organization.
Well, thank you so much. I'd also like to bring up another question asked by Ephraim Epstein, and he's asking, from an 100% nonpartisan framing, I promise, do you think that Tim and Gwen Walls sharing their narrative publicly changes the game and how society views fertility and the stigma surrounding it?
I'm happy to start because I've been thinking about this for some time. I never would have thought, like, my bingo card never had this option of, like, we're going to be talking about what IUI versus IVF is during the election time. And I'm really excited about this because now, knowing that fertility is an issue is one thing, but I think what's important is everyone understanding the value there, the different options, how this is impacting people. I look back and we have a few advisors like this where they were one of those first people that went through IVF when it really started. And most of those people actually now have, who went through that and were successful, have kids who are like 20 something. And so there's this new generation of people who were born because of fertility care and treatments. So I think it's great that Tim and Gwen share their journey, how important it was, because without it, they wouldn't have the 2 kids that they have. And I think that's really what we're talking about right now, is building a family.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. So I'm looking in to see if there are any more questions. I don't see any more questions right now. But then I'm actually curious to know, I know that the outcomes that you have identified for people using your innovations are to democratize fertility and also to help people become parents. But then, what do you think is next for you? What kind of trends in the fertility space are giving you hope for the future, and are things that you would like to do? Because I know, like Thiv, for instance, you are a serial entrepreneur, so I'm not sure this is going to be the second or last time that you create something new.
I think I'm like Christy. I'm, even if we have success here, I'm definitely thinking of. I probably have a laundry list of different ideas. I think there's so many opportunities here in the fertility space for new innovation. I think for right now, though, and this is something more of just from experience for being a founder, it's all about focus. You can try to do as much as you can and try to reach out to different areas. Even for us, we want to be the number one option and the best for men's fertility, because you could try to be it all, but I think that being in that lane really helps us focus, provide the right solutions out there, invest in new solutions and treatments, and then it all allows us to work with others. And because the pie is just growing in this space, and we want more and more people who will come out here and want to, come in and bring innovation to the space. So that's how I like to think about it. So I think for the next 5 years, I'm going to stick to male fertility. I promised my co-founder, maybe, and hopefully, for the rest of my life, I would be very happy to just be able to work on Hera.
Fantastic. And Dr. Fernandez-Cull?
Yeah, I mean, Thiv hit the nail on the head. Focus is critically important for us. We really want to lean into being that intelligence layer to provide those better health outcomes. And if when the access to that data helps a family become an extended family and benefit from a bundle of joy in 9 months, that to us is success, right? That's a mark that truly and literally changes
Wonderful. So I
people's
just have
lives.
another
Love the space that Thiv's playing in with Hera. And
Well, hopefully, I'll just say one last thing. We should figure out some way to do some biz dev together. So we can work.
Yes,
together, right?
absolutely. You read my mind, because data in garments we have biker shorts, which are for across gender, right? So yes, let's do that.
I love
That's
that.
what I like to hear. That's fantastic. And I think we're running short on time at this moment, but there's a question that I have, and you guys are in a very niche space, and so I'm glad that we've all found each other, because now you guys are going to work together, likely, and that's great. But I'm also interested in anything that was challenging that you identified and you overcome in your startups. And either of you can start, please.
I can start here. And I think, Christy, you probably agree, there's so many challenges in a startup. And so when I think about that question, I think the most important thing for me was making sure we're focusing in the right area. Fertility is so big. There's so many parts to it. And so we wanted to make sure we're focusing on the right area that has that growth potential, that people are demanding solution. But at the core of it, I think, especially with fertility, this is something that I learned over the years. And thankfully, I had a co-founder who has been living and breathing reproductive medicine for 20 years. The trust this community, to gain the trust of this community is so important. As someone who who came from, healthcare, but really only a couple of years ago went in and started Hera, I think I bring a different perspective, but I would say that, and rightfully so, the reproductive medicine fertility space is very protective and wants to make sure you're not just coming by or as a tourist, as they call it, and just trying to use this as an opportunity to gain revenue because it's a space that's becoming a problem, and they want you to be there because you genuinely want to help. And so that was something that took some time for me to gain their trust. And that was through conversations, being very open about what we're doing and how we're approaching it. And then, showing how we're actually putting our money where our mouth is, and, helping patients as much as possible. We always, especially in the early days, went above and beyond, trying to, even if a patient wasn't able to afford the full amount, but they really needed it, we would make exceptions like that. So those little things, I think, really, and talking to the right people and showing our evidence, really, I think, allowed us to gain their trust. And I feel like that's a really important thing that people don't realize when starting something in fertility.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then I'd just like to ask Dr. Fernandez-Cull the same. As a founder in this niche space of fertility, what challenges have you identified and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that we said was focus. And one of the hardest things is focus, because there are many things you want to say yes to and your heartstrings pull, because you want to be that conduit for change. And we want to see and be the change. And I really think it's important to always keep the customer at the center of every iteration, product, service, platform that you're trying to really produce to influence that change. And so for us, a lot of the conversations we have with girls, females, wanting different outcomes, that is both an inspiration, right? It's a heartstring pull, but it further inspires us to iterate and refine the product and service. So, like I said, it's focus is critically important. It's also one of the hardest things, right? Because you hear the stories and you want to create that benefit. Yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of this webinar, and I just want to thank both of you for being such wonderful guests and sharing all of the amazing things that you are doing. You guys have really given us a lot of food for thought, and you've also provided us with a springboard into venture investing in terms of fertility in this space, which I believe is going to make a huge difference in the way the world turns out. This is a huge endeavor, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Purelite Ventures is happy to support you in any way that we can. Yeah. And I look forward to our next meeting. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Peace.